What is going on, my party people? It's your old pal CHH. Today we're here to talk about Jaws 2, and I'm super excited about this. So this is the new Steelbook for Jaws 2, and I was super happy about this. What I like about it is I realized that it's the reverse of the theatrical poster, which, if you got the theatrical poster version, aka the slipcover version, totally don't blame you, because quite frankly, I think Jaws 2 has the best poster out of the entire franchise. That's just my opinion. I think it's awesome. But this is the reverse side of that. The camera is coming from inside the shark's mouth, and he's seeing the girl from behind her with the boat and everything, so it took me a second until I realized it, but then I was like, oh, I really like that. So that's why I went with the Steelbook, because I've bought in Jaws 2 a number of times, DVDs, and which the DVDs from Universal were totally different artwork, which I didn't like any of them. I love Jaws 2. It's interesting, when people talk about Jaws 2, you'll hear this a lot, like, oh, it's not as good as the first one, but it's never used as a slight to where you may hear people say, oh, that's not as good as the first movie. This one, it's usually like, it's not as good as the first one, but, and people will kind of give it a shot of praise, and I'm totally right there with people. You know, I think one of the things that kind of separates this one from the first one is, you know, we don't have as much returning characters. Quint and Hooper are not in here, and I think those three together make the first movie, especially when they're in the boat, just talking. That's where the movie really becomes like, oh man, it's like something else, man. It's just so good. This movie is going to focus more on Brody's, you know, descent into trying to keep Amity Island, you know, safe from sharks, and I do like some of the twists and turns that this one takes, you know. And this one, we're really trying to see Brody battle. Is he going crazy, or is this damn shark back? And we obviously find out what the truth is, but, you know, we're dealing with the city battling Brody because they're like, we're going to lose money, we're going to lose customers, this town's going to go bankrupt, you know. And it culminates with that great scene where Brody sees the school of fish on the beach, and he rallies everybody out the water. He's shooting the gun. It's a great scene, and then he realizes, oh my god, I did this in front of all these tourists and potential, I think, people that were potentially trying to buy in. Maybe they were trying to buy into businesses around town or something. I like the stuff that goes on in 2. I do think it ups the ante in some ways from 1. Not that it makes it better, but, like, you know, we're going to see a little bit more of the shark action in this one, and I really like, you know, seeing the shark come up in scenes and hitting the sailboats and hitting the small boats, and, you know, it looks good. I think the shark looks as good as the first movie. I don't know if it looks better because they did such a good job on the first one, but in this one they do a sensational job with the shark. And obviously, what you see from the theatrical poster art with the girl skiing, that's a great sequence, and they did really good stuff with the underwater. You know, getting that fast camera under there. So I really like Jaws 2. I think Roy Scheider delivers, even though history would show he had a very troubled production situation. He was not a big fan of the director. I don't think he had a great time filming 2, but I think his angst actually adds to the movie, to be honest with you, because you can sense his angst, I think, a little bit, and his almost aggravation with the situation, and I think it just transcends well into his character's, you know, plot line, and it works well. Lorraine Gary, the wife, is back, and she's just as great as the first one. So the returning cast are all great, and the mayor, Murray Hamilton, is that his name? Murray something, I believe, but the mayor's great, and I actually read that he found out his wife was diagnosed with cancer when shooting Jaws 2, so that's a bummer. Let's talk about the 4K. Let's talk about the picture quality. I was super happy with the picture quality of Jaws 2. Very cinematic, if you will. Very, it reminded me a lot of the first Jaws' 4K release, which was interesting because Jaws 2 is coming 3 years after the release of Jaws on 4K. And maybe that shouldn't be a big deal, but, like, I'm noticing other companies like Paramount, they're releasing Scream, then the next year Scream 2. I'm anticipating Scream 3 will get a release this year, which I'm actually excited about, becoming a bigger fan of Scream 3. But yeah, 3 years later, we're getting Jaws 2, and like I said, this is the Steelbook release, and I was super happy with this. I thought it looked really, really good. And, yeah, on the inside, you know, you're going to get... I have bad poison ivy on this hand. That's why I'm not trying to use it. It's kind of gross looking. I'm healing, but my hand took a nasty, you know, rash on there. But on the inside, you're going to see this shot of, you know, Chief Brody. And I hate passionately putting the 2 discs on one side. Put 1 disc on this side and 1 disc on this side, please. I hate having to try to pull these out. It's really annoying. Then you get a shot of the shark on the back, which looks great. But with that being said, the picture quality was extremely cinematic, very natural. I didn't really have to touch my TV at all. Everything was like, the skin tones looked perfect. Everything about it. But it still has that really great 70s look. You know, this movie was 1978. It looked really good, and I would give the picture quality on Jaws 2 like a 9 out of 10, where the first one I'd give it a 10 out of 10, but I think with Jaws, they took painstaking steps to make it beyond perfect. I think the first Jaws is one of the best 4Ks that you could get, where Jaws 2 kind of falls, its picture quality kind of falls in line, you know, if you will, with the movies. So not as good, but still damn good. So super happy. No complaints with Jaws 2. I think it's a sensationally well done 4K. In terms of special features, I'll show you the menu screen right now. I think all this was old. You know, you've got the making of Jaws. You've got Jaws 2, that is. You've got an interview with the actor who was from Christine. All this stuff is the same, and it's also all on the Blu-ray disc. You know, I typically prefer, maybe it's just a peace of mind thing, I usually prefer it when the 4K disc has just the movie on it, and audio settings and things like that, where you put all the special features on the Blu-ray disc. In my mind, it's like less compression, more room on the disc for the movie, but that's probably like a silly rationalization. So just know that both special features are on the disc, and it looks like an old Blu-ray. With that being said, if you want to get this and you're not a 4K person, I wouldn't, just unless you want to collect it, because I don't think that the Blu-ray had any jump in quality from what I could see. It doesn't look like it's a 4K scan. It looks like it's an older Blu-ray disc. I didn't notice much difference in the picture quality, so this is certainly something you would get if you're a 4K person. With all that being said, though, I would give the Jaws 2 release a solid 8.5 out of 10. You know, I would have liked a little something new on features, but I do really like the Steelbook, so I'll keep it at 8.5. I think that's fair. Great sequel. I think it's a blueprint sequel for, you know, it doesn't have to be as good as the first one, but you can get close. And Jaws 2 gets close. I think the magic that Jaws 1 had, some of those ingredients, a couple ingredients, maybe Hooper and Quint, if you will, aren't in this one. Naturally, some of them died, but you know, this is still a solid movie. Jaws 2 is great, guys. I highly recommend picking up the 4K, especially if you're just a remote Jaws fan or just a physical media high picture quality person. This is very cinematic. I think you'll really like it. Let me know your thoughts on Jaws 2. Do you consider it that slasher entry of the Jaws films? Do you consider it a slasher movie at all? And your just thoughts on the movie. What is your story? Because a lot of people have a lot of love for Jaws 2, which I think is great, and God knows I do. Here's to seeing if they'll do Jaws 3 on 4K. That'll be interesting, considering it was a 3D movie. You know, we'll just see. We'll see, because, you know, it's going to be interesting to do that, if they will. And if they're going to do Jaws The Revenge on 4K, that'll be interesting. I'd definitely grab that just for the novelty of it. So, there you go, guys. Solid release. Good job, Universal, on the Jaws 2 4K. See you guys next time. Your good old pal, CHH, signing off. Huge, giant thank you to all of my Patreon supporters. Without you guys, this would not be possible. To get behind-the-scenes photos, videos, music, private live streams, and much more, you can subscribe to my Patreon for as little as $1 a month. Thank you to my patrons.